Hi everyone, well it's time, it's the exciting time of the year when we plant out our tomatoes. And it is exciting, I have to admit. You always have mixed feelings when it comes to planting out your tomatoes, because you know it's going to be really hard work because you've got to wash your greenhouses down, mix all your pots, it's really heavy work. But then the good bit comes and you get to put your tomatoes into the final resting places, and I'm just putting the final 3 into the pots that they're going to go into. And on the left side I've got beefsteaks, because I found that these tend to do better on the left side of the greenhouses, so that's on the north side. They don't get full sun then. And we've got several varieties here. We've got Paul Robeson, Orange Wellington, Country Taste, Hillbilly Tomato, Pink Brandywine, and then in the tub here still to go out are Cherokee Purple and Brandy Boy. So we've got 7 beefsteak, and then I've got 1 standard tomato down here at the front, and that's a Harbinger. That's an open pollinated variety, a little bit like a Shirley. And then I've got 5 cherry tomatoes. I've got Sun Gold, Black Cherry, Sun Gold again, Zakura and Sun Gold again. So we've got a bit of symmetry in the colour of the plant in here. The fish blood and bones already gone into the pots, so what I'm going to do now, if we look at this one here, the Country Taste, you can see it's about 10 inch tall. I'm going to take off this leaf and maybe leave the top cluster of 3 or 4, and I'll sink it right down to about there. So it'll only stand 5 or 6 inch out of the pot. Anyway, I need to get on with that now. The sun's coming out, so it's getting nice and warm. But if you don't mind, I'm going to enjoy this bit in quiet, and I'll bring you back when I've done and you can see what they look like. And there we go, they're all finished and they look absolutely lovely. They smell divine as well as you pick the leaves off, the bottom leaves. But as you can see, they're planted deep and probably about 7 or 8 inch out of the pot. 13 plants in this greenhouse. It's a 10 by 6. Some people plant much more densely than this, but my plants tend to be quite robust and stocky and quite bushy. So that's enough for me, I think, 13. And I've got 5 cherries, as I mentioned earlier, 6 beefsteak and 1 standard globe-shaped tomato. The cherries tend to come early and they're quite prolific, aren't they? You get lots of cherries, probably more than you can eat. So I'm leaning towards the beefsteak because they're more heavy yielding, and if you're making tomato sauces and things like that, then you've got the bulk. And also the taste, because I've got a lot of heritage varieties and they're quite tasty. So that's the first greenhouse done, and here they are, looking splendid. They smell really nice as well. A thing of beauty, unlike the pile of rubbish at the side there, which has still got to be cleaned up. So 1 greenhouse down, 2 to go. Cup of tea now, and then I'll start with the second one. Well, that's the second greenhouse done. This is the 8 by 8 greenhouse. So by area it's a little bit bigger than the 10 by 6 by just to the tune of 4 square feet. But because it's that little bit wider, I've zigzagged the plants, or staggered them. So I've managed to get 12 into this one, and I could probably get more in, but I want to ensure that there's good airflow and good light to all the plants, and so that I can get to them as well to water and side shoot. So 12 plants. They're essentially the same plants, the same varieties that were in the first greenhouse, but there are 2 additional varieties in this one. In the corner there we've got a cherry, it's Sun Baby. It's like a yellow version of the gold, Sun Gold. Sweet, not quite as sweet as Sun Gold, but it's still pleasant, but it's very prolific. You get lots of tomatoes on that one. And I've also put in this corner a black pear. So that's a beefsteak, but it looks like a plum, and that's a really nice, sweet, and again, prolific tomato. So there we go. I'm just about ready for my lunch now, so I've watered these plants and I've tidied up the other long greenhouse, but I'm not going to be putting the tomatoes in that probably until later this afternoon. So once again, I think they look lovely. You can see they're all nice and stocky plants, they've all got good colour, although the colour does vary from variety to variety. And you'll see as well that there are a few potato leafed varieties like the pink brandywine and the black pear, and I think we've got a brandy boy. They're all potato leaf ones, so you can see the kind of not quite opal but sort of teardrop shaped, as opposed to the jagged edged sort of more familiar variety. Right, so I'm off for my lunch now. I'll catch you later. And there we go, yet another one, the third greenhouse now, with the front section which is 10 feet by 8 feet with its own complement of tomatoes as well. And we've got 16 in here. Same varieties as before, but with a few additional ones. I think we've got an Abe Lincoln, as in the American president, and we've also got a German Johnson. That's another American variety, heritage variety. So that's that greenhouse done. I've still got the cucumbers to pot up, but that'll be tomorrow on Monday, and they're going to go in the back there. But you can see the sweet corn and the sunflowers are sat in abeyance waiting to be planted out, and if the weather looks like it's going to be promising over this next week, then they may be planted out, freeing up that space there at the back. So that's the long greenhouse. Hi, well that's another update completed. It's been a long day today. I had 5 hours this morning and I've just done about 3. It's just approaching 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. And there aren't many days like that in the year, but this is one of them, and it's the day when you do the bulk of your planting up in your greenhouses. I've still about a dozen tomatoes to pot on, and they're going to go in the remaining greenhouse, as if we've not already got enough. But I'm just going to grow them on the bench to about 3 trusses, because I've got about 30 plants left and I don't want to throw them away, so I'm going to make the best use of them. A couple will go on the patio, just under the barn overhang, because that's quite a protected spot, and I've got a bush tomato, and I'll put maybe some gold tomatoes up there, because they ripen early and hopefully you get something off them before you get blight. Well, it's been quite a day. I'm tired now and I'm about to go on for my tea, but for me the tomatoes kind of punctuate the year. They really mark the start of the season, probably mid-March, when you sow them. Shortly after that the potatoes go in and you do a lot of sowing and pricking out of your brassicas, but then 8 weeks later, and that's literally today, 8 weeks after sowing, they're planted out in their final positions in the greenhouses. And there's a sense of achievement and a sense of completion really, because the greenhouses are workhouses for the most part, but from now until probably the end of September, early October, they'll be productive. We've still got the cucumbers and peppers to pot up, but we're well on our way now. Still got a lot to do, lots of brassicas to plant out, lots more sowing to do, so stay tuned, then you'll see how we get on with the remainder of the planting out on the beds. I have done some planting in the last week, beans mainly, Borlotti, dwarf French beans and the French bean Stanley, but they've not come through yet, and we'll look at them maybe in the next update. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching and for subscribing, and please feel free to comment, you know, if you want to share your experience on growing tomatoes and how you plant them up, then by all means do, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All the best.